Welcome everyone to this Horizon Europe Info Day online meeting, where we will introduce you to a series of topics related to next Horizon Europe calls, and we have a very interesting and varied program. People are still joining, so maybe we give them another couple of minutes before we start with the presentation, but I can take the chance to remind everyone how we are organizing the workshop. My name is Giovanni Rimassa, and I represent one of the two projects that co-organizes this workshop with the European Commission. One is EU IoT, NG-IoT, that is the IoT domain CSA, and the other one is the EU Cloud Edge IoT, that is the computing continuum Cloud Edge IoT CSA. During the event, you will see links and social media handles that you can follow to get more information about the various initiatives. And as you can see in the slides, we have some simple house rules. We are recording this session, and they will be then published on the websites of the two managing project, NG-IoT.eu and EU Cloud Edge IoT.eu. You have the possibility to post comments and questions in the QA section or in the chat, and my colleagues will behind the scene collect your comments, and then we have suitable Q&A sessions where we can route your questions to the panelists. As you can see, as I mentioned before, you can join discussion also online beyond this event, because we have several channels that you can follow in Twitter, LinkedIn, and on the two portals of the two projects. You also can refer to the help desk at info@ngiot.eu if you have some technical issues and you want support. So without further ado, we have the first session that is all from the European Commission colleagues that will give you the overview and the specific details of the three calls that we are covering in this workshop. First, we have Rolf Riemenschneider, Head of Sector IoT at European Commission, that will set the frame, giving welcome and introduction on the topics that we are covering here. And then we will follow with three presentations on the specific calls. We'll have first Jan Komarek, Policy Officer at European Commission, on the call about the cooperation with the NSF on new concept for distributed computing. This is a coordination and support action kind of call. And then we will have two presentations by Maria Zaccari, Policy Officer at European Commission, and she will cover the research aspect and the coordination aspects on the cognitive computing continuum. As you can see, the first of the two presentation is about the call that is about intelligent automation for a more efficient data processing in cognitive computing continuum, which is research and innovation actions. And the second one is about the coordination and support of the same topic of cognitive computing continuum, research and policy, and this is a coordination and support action. We will then follow with further sessions that I will present later, and we will have a Q&A slot at the end of each macro session. So I would like to hand over back to Rolf Riemenschneider to present the first the first contribution, that is about setting the frame of this phase of Horizon Europe and data destination. Rolf, you can start.
Thank you so much, Giovanni. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to give a short introduction, on today's topics of the call under Horizon Europe. Actually, I'm here together with my colleagues, as you heard, Jan Komarek and Maria Zaccari. We are all from Directorate E within DG Connect. The area is called Cloud to Edge to IoT for European Data. It has a special section under Destination 3, Cluster 4, Horizon Europe. So next slide, please. So the overriding strategy of this commission is a data strategy which has been put into the center. It consists of cloud actions and data actions, cloud actions related to a cloud rulebook, encouraging co-investment into cloud to edge infrastructure and services, The digital decade, where we have an action on 10,000 energy efficient edge nodes and so on and so forth. And these cloud actions are accompanied by data actions, legislation, as well as investments into deployment actions under the Digital Europe program, what we call Common European Data Spaces. That is accompanied by industrial discussions, roadmaps, and support. On the one hand, the European Alliance for Industrial Data, Cloud, and Edge, and on the bottom line you see an association, the Gaia-X, the French-German cooperation initiative to support federation interoperability standards for cloud infrastructure. So next slide, please. Under this section, we coined a new research area, what we call from cloud to edge to IoT orchestration. It builds on a new paradigm, on a shift from cloud to edge, on edge computing, which is visualized over here. It represents a research program which has been put in place at the start of Horizon Europe. It builds on cloud infrastructure, HPC infrastructure, which is extended towards the edge, offloading computing loads towards the cloud and going further to the edge, which has the advantage to be more real time, to have a decentralized processing and aggregated processing at the edge close to where the data is processed, and with the advantage to reduce latency and avoid additional overhead for transport networks. On the left-hand side, you see a new generation of far edge IoT devices, which integrate more intelligence, AI embedded, more sensing capabilities, new network functionalities, what we call decentralized data aggregation and intelligence, which has the beauty of being process the data where it is generated, reducing the attack surface, increasing security, and reducing the latency. In the middle, you see the investment into a new sort of infrastructure, what we call an edge computing infrastructure. It has the functionality of coordinating between offloading computing to central infrastructures like cloud, so managing the cloud edge continuum, but also the orchestration of local processing, local sensing, and local actuation from IoT towards a more distributed computing infrastructure, quite heterogeneous environment, what we call orchestration environment for near edge and distributed edge IoT devices. The center infrastructure of edge computing has this role of orchestration, including also new types of network functionality and capabilities offered for mesh networks or 5G. So that is the new paradigm, and you will see in the following slide that we started putting that in place, supported by research topics under Horizon Europe. Next slide, please. At this point in time, we have passed the first wave of topics. We have 4 topics over there, which you see here. 1 topic under Destination 4 on open source, 3 topics under Destination 3, talking about research innovation projects for decentralized intelligence and edge, MetaOS, meta operating systems projects, and cognitive cloud. So what is behind these topics? A snapshot on that one. Next slide. This is a group of topics which have been selected under the meta operating systems projects. We've selected 6 projects, which you find over there. They have started in autumn last year, so they're running quite a while. They will be coordinated as a cluster of projects to amplify the innovation, to drive innovation in edge computing towards an open edge operating system platform, which is a multi-stakeholder platform and looking at the different interfaces. So as said, we have selected 2 CSAs, Open Continuum and Unlock CI, to support these cross-sector task forces on horizontal topics, for instance, like on edge computing standards, on edge interfaces and open APIs. Coming to all these projects is they will offer the opportunity through open calls to offer smaller companies and smaller institutions to join the projects on the fly. And you will find announcements of these calls under the Portugal Cloud Edge IoT Continuum, and the link will be given later. So next slide. For the call on programming environments and decentralized intelligence, 5 projects have been selected. The light blue one is not selected on the reserve list. Here we're looking at emerging concepts for smart edge connected nodes with decentralized intelligence, distributed intelligence, and integrated AI. So how to deal with these sort of new types of nodes, what are programming methods, abstraction methods, and tools. And the second part of that is looking at how to generate dynamic groups of nodes across the device edge cloud continuum, which supports swarm intelligence, methods for node collaboration and system abstraction in order to have a more efficient execution of the task and of the mission. Many of these projects also incorporate collaborative robotics, for instance, as one principle. These projects all have been selected, but just started very recently. Second topic is, next slide, please, is the outcome of the open source for cloud-based service portfolio. 4 areas have been selected, also kicked off very recently to support Europe's digital autonomy when it comes to deployment of cloud infrastructure. In which way? To support open source software and hardware components, which are expected to fill the gap as a new way of projects to support open source communities, but also to build on the outcomes of the flagship, the EPI, the European Processor Initiative, and to drive innovation towards the new type of European cloud infrastructure based on open source components manufactured in Europe. So the 4 projects have been listed over here. As said, also they have started very recently. The next and last one is, next slide, please, is the outcome of the topic cognitive cloud projects under the cognitive cloud framework. Here, 9 areas have been selected, and also these projects have very recently just started. So there's no cross coordination at the moment. You see the names of the project. The cognitive cloud, which responds to be adaptive in a very intelligent, smart, autonomous way to changes in the application and the behavior, to data variability, and to offer sort of dynamic and automatic deployment, mobility and adaptability of services from cloud to edge. So this is common to all these projects, with an advantage to give more control to the application developers over network computing and data infrastructures. So this is under the heading cognitive cloud. And next slide, please. So you see under this new paradigm of edge computing, we have different features. The one is we have more reasoning on the go at the edge and close to the source of the data. We benefit from real-time responses, particularly important, for instance, for autonomous cars, increasing the security, avoiding the data center around the world and stored somewhere in central infrastructures. And looking on the impact of green solutions, if we have a more efficient computing infrastructure, which is decentralized, compatible with decentralized energy sources, and to have a seamless service architecture. So actually common to all these 3 different topics presented is all these have the challenge of cloud edge IoT orchestration, what we ought to call like orchestration and management across the cloud, across the computing continuum. This is central to all topics, and that's also central to the topic which is open right now. Next slide, please. And that you will see on the bottom, you have 3 topics which are open now. The blue ones are with a deadline next year, and the yellow one with a deadline this year on cognitive computing continuum and the management of this computing continuum for intelligent and automated techniques for more efficient data processing. That will be presented in a second from my colleague Maria. So to give you an overview, next slide. What is at stake at this point in time for the new work program 2023-2024? We have pilot actions which will be called for next year with 45 million on smart IoT platforms and decentralized intelligence. We will call for RIA on open source, and we now call for a RIA on cognitive computing continuum, including two CSAs, one tightly related to the cognitive computing continuum research and innovation policy, and one topic favoring the corporate collaboration with NSF on distributed computing and swarm intelligence. And that all will be presented, all three ones which are open right now will be presented now in a second. And that was actually my overview. Next slide. You see all information you will find on the portal for projects, open calls, and events on the EU Cloud Edge IoT portal. And you have more information from related papers and related initiatives and on Europa on this page. And that's all from my side. Thanks for your attention. I pass over to Giovanni back and to my colleagues then to have a dive into the research topics. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Rolf. And as I said before, we will have a Q&A session at the end of all these presentations. So the next one is on this call of the collaboration with NSF. And so I will hand over now to Jan Komarek. Give me a second that I just have to flip the presentation. So this is the... sorry that I have many. Is it this? Yes, I think. Yes, NSF, yes. Can you see the sharing? Am I sharing the right one? Is it in full screen? Because that's what I'm not sure. Okay, so give me a second. I have to make it full screen. So that is full screen, and then I think I have to share it again. Give me a second. So this is yes, right. It is full screen now, right?
Yes.
Okay. Please, Jan, go ahead. I think you are muted, Jan. Not sure, but I can't hear you. Shall we maybe move on to the next presentation from Maria while we do an audio check with Jan? Yeah, okay, good. So let me then share the other presentation on the call on cognitive computing continuum RIA, right? That's the first one, yes. So give me a second that I do the screen share.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I hear you well, Maria.
Okay, okay, perfect.
So this is yours. And then I go full screen. Okay, and then I update the share. Okay, so this should be your presentation, right?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Giovanni. Thank you. Hello, everyone. This is Maria Tsakali. I'm policy officer, program officer in Unit E2, Cloud and Software. I'm going to present to you the two topics that were mentioned by my colleague Rolf and Giovanni as well. So next slide, please. Just to give you again an overview, the same as before Rolf has given you this slide, just to show you what the topics we had called for last year to prepare for the next calls this year. And in this area, we had a call which produced 9 projects, as Rolf mentioned before, on cognitive cloud framework. And then this, together with all the other projects that were mentioned before by Rolf, are going to contribute to the new topic, which is called up on now, and it is the cognitive computing continuum. So let's go to the next slide, where I have also showing you those 9 projects. The reason why I show you again these projects is because they are started a few weeks ago. They don't have a website yet, but if you just click at on each of those project names, you may find some information for the time being. So this is very important to understand what these projects have been doing. All this are going to develop in the coming 3 years, and these projects should actually be your baseline. Okay, so when you build, you're trying to build your state of the art, together with the projects in the previous calls that Rolf mentioned on swarm intelligence and also on MetaOS. So let's go to the next slide, which is actually the topic which is now open. So cognitive computing continuum, intelligence and automation for more efficient data processing. It's a research and innovation action for 28 million, which is a lump sum funding, and information on this lump sum funding will be given to you right after our presentations. It's a TRL 2 to 5, and we expect to have proposals and projects in the area of 4 to 6 million. So what is the scope of this topic, where your proposal should really be in? What we want is to have an AI-enabled management of the whole computing continuum, which is going to be enabled by swarm computing, decentralized intelligence, etc. And this is going to allow services and data to be seamlessly processed across various various providers, connectivity types, and network zones. In other words, what we want to have here is not to concentrate only on 1 or 2 components of this computing continuum, but to have solutions on managing the whole computing continuum, from cloud to edge to IoT. This is very important to see. That we're expecting to have novel automated management tools, programming models, learning and decision-making methods and approaches to be able to cope with end-to-end security and identity management, resources, heterogeneity, fault tolerance, and elasticity problems. So I have already covered the 2 bullets in the scope. Please pay attention. The red coloring does not mean anything. Okay, it's just only for a matter of making this easily readable. You have to really go and see what is exactly in the work program text. Okay, this is a copy paste from the work program text, but the work program text is your Bible in this process. Okay, so then the proposal should also cover be in the scope of having intelligent compute data and code orchestration mechanisms to allow efficient value extraction from huge volumes of data. And at the same time, it has to support a resource dynamicity, scalability across the computing continuum, as I said before. For sure, the optimization of energy efficiency is very important, and taking into account the sustainability from end-to-end data processing across the continuum. So make sure that your proposal is in scope of these points here, okay? And you have to make sure that you cover the whole computing continuum. And also, please be careful on to really describe in your proposal how do you advance the state of the art and why your solutions are the best one, and what is the innovation in the solutions that you're proposing. So state of the art is very important, innovation is very important, covering the whole computing continuum is very important, and this computing continuum has to be AI enabled. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. So these are the expected outcomes that we expect from your proposals, and in your proposal you really have to describe how you're going to achieve those outcomes, and if your results are falling into whatever we expect from your work. In other words, your research results have to demonstrate how they do have an impact, and please make sure that you also measure this impact. I'm not going to go through all the points. This is, you can really go through and see exactly what is expected of you. So let's go to the next one. There are some other important aspects that you have to consider when you're writing your proposal. In case you're going to propose something that deals with security and identity management, make sure that you also, first of all, you're expected to apply state-of-the-art technologies in these areas, security and identity management, and make sure that you relate to the activities and outcomes of cluster 3 topics, okay? And we are giving you those 3 topics that you have to relate to. Also, your project has to develop synergies and relate to activities and outcomes of the Digital Europe program. Those topics are also mentioned here that deal with the middleware, computing, cloud pilots, and so on, cloud middleware, and also make sure that you see what is the development of the existing and emerging important projects of common European interest on cloud computing. Also make sure that you have your solutions are interoperable. Use open standards and develop open standards. Interoperability models and open platforms are very appropriate in this topic. For both the research innovation actions and the support actions, international collaboration is encouraged because this topic goes beyond the European borders, especially with Japan and South Korea we mentioned here. The reason for this is because we already had in the past very successful collaboration with Japan and South Korea through the Horizon 2020 joint call programs. And you can find lots of information on the projects that were running at that time. Also, please make sure, note that there is no funding from the EU for international entities. So that means that those organizations that participate from abroad, they have to secure their own funding. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. In summary, what we're looking for, and always we have been stressing this in all our topics, is that we would like to see development of generic and advanced AI-enabled cloud-to-edge technologies, mechanisms, techniques, and so on, and in this time covering the whole continuum. The focus of the research should be on novel cloud-edge technologies and not on developing novel AI technologies, okay? Because if you do this, then this is not going to be in the scope of this topic. So make sure that the center of gravity of your development is to develop cloud edge technologies that are being enabled by AI technologies, okay? Also, it has to be beyond the state of the art, not incremental. As I said before, we have TRLs starting from 2 to 5. The proposals should demonstrate the applicability of the technologies that you are going to develop across multiple application domains. In other words, demonstrate that whatever you develop is generic, as I said before. Now, what we don't want to see, and probably the proposal will not go through, is to propose something that is using For example, a very good idea on cloud enabling big data or 5G, or using cloud technologies to develop AI technologies. This is not what we want, as I said before, okay? So we want to have completely new cloud technologies enabled by AI. And also proposals that are dealing only with application development using existing cloud-based technologies is not what we want. For example, you may have a very nice smart city application, an excellent proposal using cloud and edge. This is not what we want, okay? So this proposal can be, you can, submit this proposal in another topic, but not in this topic. So I hope this is clear. Okay, so let's move to the next one. Okay, in this case, I had a Q&A, but as Giovanni said, perhaps I would go to the next topic, and then at the end, we can have all the questions. So the next topic is about the support action. Okay, there is one, we are calling for one support action with the aim to support the European Commission and the European Computing Research Constituency by providing with annual updated roadmaps for research and innovation. Another point is to facilitate the awareness of stakeholders in research and policy matters related to cloud-edge IoT continuum, to coordinate the stakeholders in this continuum, and to act as support for the R&D programs and activities by disseminating the research results to a wider audience, to the research community, to policy events, and so on. Very important in this support action is to collaborate with other relevant initiatives in the field, especially those related to the important project of common European interest on cloud infrastructure and services, to the European Alliance for Industrial Data Edge and Cloud. And that means that you really have to see how the activities of those initiatives relate to the research activities, and if the research activities that our program is doing, how do they really support the activities of those initiatives. There's a number of expected outcomes here. I'm not going to go through all of them. The major outcome that we expect is that you really have to coordinate all these different initiatives in this area to produce yearly updated roadmaps, okay? And all the developments should complement the initiatives, developments from the other initiatives. So in other words, you really have to bring together everyone that is really doing work in this area of computing continuum, starting from the IoT community, edge community, cloud community, and so on, and bring everything together, policy and research communities. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so here again, what we are looking for is we are looking for a coordination and support action that is going to build on the existing Horizon Europe support actions. We have already 2 of them running. Is the Unlock CEI, Cloud Edge IoT, and Open Continuum. What we need here, what you need to do here is to seek complementarity with those existing support actions, not to do exactly what they do, no overlapping, but just to complement and to go beyond that, beyond the work that they are doing currently. Very important, as I said before, is to bring together all the stakeholders in the cloud edge continuum and to produce the annually updated research roadmaps to evolving in this work, ongoing research projects, EU initiatives from the Digital Europe program projects, the Cloud Alliance roadmaps, the AI OTI, NESI, IPCI, etc. So your work has to be long-term, forward-looking, and to also it's very useful to describe in your proposal how you are going to organize this mapping of research results with the technological priorities presented by the various initiatives, for example, from the Cloud Alliance roadmap, NESI, and so on. So you also have to organize scientific and policy-related events that provide input to all these research roadmaps and policy and standardization initiatives. So what we do not want is business as usual, just to say, providing some nice reports, but of generic nature. What we need to have is to have something very focused on the strategic vision of the Cloud Edge IoT Continuum. We don't want to have static and boring websites that is very difficult to find information. Support actions are here to be used by the community stakeholders and citizens, and should be really easy to access information. So all these aspects are going to be taken seriously into consideration when the evaluators are going to evaluate your proposal. Okay, so let's go to the next one. This is just summarizing those two topics. Okay, we can go to the next one. Next slide, please. Okay, so this slide, I think for you is very important because it contains all the links to related information that is going to really help you come up with ideas for your proposals, find out what is the state of the art, build your baselines, and so on. And also find information about the new funding facility, this lump sum facility that is going to be presented to you by our colleague from Hadea. So I believe this is all from me. Thank you. So I will pass the floor to Giovanni.
Yes, thank you very much, Maria, and thanks also for the swap in the agenda. And now we can, I understand that Ariane is connected, so he has audio, so I will share his presentation and we'll proceed with the third topic.
Hello, Giovanni, can you hear me now?
Yes, very well, thank you, Ian.
Okay, so I put my speakers on minimum volume and turned off the camera.
Yeah.
So I will start.
Sure. So I think now everybody should see your presentation about the cooperation with NSF, right? So you can start and tell me when to flip.
Yes. So welcome everyone. My name is Jan Pomarek. I'm policy officer in the unit of Internet of Things, which is unit of Rolf Riemenschneider. And I would like to introduce this topic, collaboration between European Commission and the NSF across the computing continuum. This topic is a coordination and support action. And to set the scene a bit, I would like to introduce what are the ongoing activities, and then I will go in the text of the topic. Next slide, please. Next slide, please.
I am on slide 2 now, the joint effort with IPIC, right? Yeah, maybe there's some delay.
Yeah, okay. So there's some joint efforts between US and the EC on the research in the computing continuum, and the project financed currently by the Commission is HighPeak. It's a 7th version of the HighPeak project, and it's just started in this 1st of December. And some of its activities are focused on the cooperation with U.S. National Science Foundation to target some long-term research in the computing continuum area. And the important actors in this are not only the project, but also myself and Max Lenke from the Commission, and the interlocutors from the NSF. There are some first outputs of these activities, and the joint white paper Vision 2023 includes ideas about the future digital and physical space, and how the IoT and digital and physical spaces, how they come together. There are 2 online workshops on 14th of November and 16th of November on this cooperation. The technical challenges of this field are infrastructure heterogeneity. For example, then everything that there is a high need for everything to have as a service based on workflows across the continuum. Dynamic provision and migration, and that there is a need to align application demand with resource availability to limit sensitive data transmission, to minimize energy consumption and the carbon footprint, to minimize operation costs, and to shorten the latency in time. And there is a more need for orchestrating the systems, and then to have all aspects of privacy, security, and energy consumption and operation costs taken into account. Next slide, please. And so I introduce this slide. So next slide, please. So the directions for this research are also given by the HiPeak project, and they talk about unifying specification and programming languages. Then the whole computing continuum is to employ operating system, middleware, and runware services. The collection and perception, collective perception of the aggregate performance, resource utilization, specification-based resource-aware service discovery, and then ensuring the trust across the compute continuum is also important in this sense. So with this description of the ongoing activities, I would like to turn now to the topic description itself. That's next slide. So what we are looking for under this topic is to develop the cooperation between EC and US National Science Foundation on the long-term fundamental research on new concepts for distributed computing and swarm intelligence. There will be some interaction with the HiPeak project and common workshops for exchange of research results. Then NSF would also provide some supplement funding to drive the joint research, and the scope of the projects that can be concerned from the source EU resources which are currently funded. They amount to about 100 million of EC funding, and they are mostly the swarms and MetaOS projects. The expected outcomes are to supporting structure for secretarial services, networking including travel, research exchange and fellowship programs, promotion and brokerage events. That there will be networking and the vision workshops for academic and industrial computing community. The CSA should organize a yearly workshop for exchange of research results, and it should be done in close cooperation with HiPeak project and the NSF. The activities should bring a joint vision for design and trustful evolution of the edge towards a spatial web or metaverse. This metaverse should be considered as a cyber-physical system space where physical and digital worlds are connected. And lastly, this CSA should trigger research community, amid strong competition from Asia, so that means that Europe needs to have more control over the technologies. So with this slide, this is an overview of the currently launched projects that Rolf already mentioned. Here, on top of that, comes an overview of the sectors that are covered under this call, which is automated driving, health, farming, smart factories, utilities, cities and communities, logistics and buildings. So this was my last slide on this topic.
Thank you very much, then, Jan. Then if this is the end of your presentation, we completed the, let's say, overview and in-depth discussion of the three topics that are relevant for these next months. And so we could move to the Q&A session, I understand, right? So I have a few questions that have been taken from the chat and the Q&A stream. So I would like to pose these to you all, and depending on the topic, of course, you can.
Yep. Giovanni, I see one question on international collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
I think already Rolf answered that and also I said this in my presentation, that partners from Japan, South Korea, and any other country that is going to participate in this proposal, they are not going to get funded by the EU. Okay, so they really have to guarantee their own funding. In the proposal, there is another question coming down,
mm-hmm.
That those partners have to be in the proposal, like partners with zero funding.
Yeah.
Okay, and also they have to be included in the work program. You know, their involvement has to be very clearly described in the work packages, in the tasks, and so on.
Right. They are regular partners that get third country funding. So from a project management point of view, they have to have their work package and tasks. Yes, very good.
Of their work.
Yep, this completes, I think, the answer to that first question. Then I have, for example, this I think is for you, Maria, on the data 0104. So this is the RIAs on the computer continuum. Should the use cases also reach TRL5 at the end of the project, or there is some higher TRL expected?
Well, it depends on the proposal. Okay, so I mean, the TRL 2 to 5 are for the technologies that they're going to develop. Okay, I mean, for the use cases, as I said before, the use case is not really, the focus of your project. I mean, the use case is to demonstrate that your generic technologies can be applied in different sectors and applications. So it's up to you to use them.
Very good. Then I have more, let's say, precise question about what is meant for as a swarm computing, that the reader,
yeah, which is part of this topic. Yes, I would leave this to Rolf to answer.
Yeah, you're right. The difference between swarm computing that seems to be more on storage, whether swarm intelligence is the emergent behavior kind of thing. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think we had that in the proposal as well. You had sort of these sort of swarm behavior, which is more on the edge nodes, meaning you have they are using agent frameworks in order to coordinate the different edge nodes in order to on response to a certain event and to have a sort of a more straight and more powerful answer. That was more on the optimization of the capacity, what you say, which is sort of swarm computing. But we also had very few very precise examples of swarm intelligence. So one example, for instance, was intelligent crossing, where if an incident happens, for instance, a human is crossing the street, doesn't pay attention, that event is detected and needs immediate reaction, a chain of reaction around all the areas, participants or cars or bikes in the area to have sort of a behavior in order to rescue the life or to avoid an accident, not to have sort of a knock-on effect. Or another example on swarm intelligence, if for renewables in a certain area, that if the sun is shining, it moves in, to produce solar power in certain areas, which is sort of a swarm behavior, and then you need a distribution grid who has to react. And if you apply swarm intelligence, it's more efficient if you use these sort of behavior in order to respond to sort of a swarming effect. So that's one of few examples. It's more swarm intelligence where the edge nodes take a reaction, and the first one was more on coordination on the capacity of at the edge computing nodes.
Yeah, thank you, Rolf. And there is another one maybe still for you, Rolf, which is about the timing, because there is this plan of basing this work a little bit on the projects from Cognitive Cloud, but then our colleague asks, how can we base something on the Cognitive Cloud project that just started a few weeks ago?
Okay.
So this is about the spacing, I think, of the course. Yeah.
I can answer that as well.
Please.
Okay, I mean, as Rolf mentioned, we don't, you should not really focus your work. It's not a continuation of the Cognitive Cloud work, this new topic, okay? It's a new topic, taking into account the work that has been done already in the different topics that were called last year. So you have to look at also the swarm computing projects, the MetaOS projects, the Cognitive Cloud projects, see what they are doing, build up your baseline, and see how you can go beyond the state of the art in this new topic.
Yeah, thank you. And maybe I can also add that the CSA EU Cloud Edge IoT is making an effort to bring the projects all the new together. So this is also another area where you can gather information about what the projects are doing at the moment. Then here is more again on the similar topic about learning what the currently active projects are doing. So the websites are not ready yet for the Cognitive Cloud and the Swarm Computing project. And so is there the plan to have a brochure or some kind of information that can help people understand what these projects are doing at the moment?
At first, they can find some information from the links that we have already provided. Mm-hmm. Okay. So if the proposers need much more information, they either contact the project coordinator or they send us an email and we can forward it to these projects. But I'm sure there's a way to find more information.
I think the information should be also available now on Cordis, the basic parameters of the project.
Yeah.
And then this is still for you, Maria, because you said that in the RIA call on the cognitive computing continuum, we need to do the state-of-the-art assessment and how we are innovative and so on. So here the question is, can we start from existing technologies and open source solution and improve them with new idea, or are the proposed solutions supposed to start from scratch and be a complete breakthrough?
Well, it's a RIA, so we expect something new, okay? I mean, of course, if you're starting from something that already exists and whatever you add on it makes it a really innovative and really groundbreaking idea, yeah, that's fine, okay?
Good. Okay, here there is another one similar, still on the same topic of advanced state-of-the-art. So does this claim that we are supposed the projects have to the proposals have to advance the state of the art, does this imply that a project will just apply existing security or privacy technologies, or would it be expected to advance in the state of the art in this area with new technology? So it's the same, but for security in particular, I think.
Okay, I mean, as I said before, what we expect is the state of the art to be really going beyond the state of the art in the areas of cloud, edge, IoT technologies in the whole computing continuum. We don't expect to go beyond the state of the art in other related technologies, for example, security, identity, big data, 5G, and so on. Okay, so if you're going to use security and identity management in your solution, but we're not expecting you to go beyond the state of the art in those security technologies. Of course, if by doing all this, you incorporate them into the cloud technologies and, in a way they are advanced as well, it's okay, but it should not be the focus of your proposal. Because as I said before, the focus of the proposal is to advance the state of the art in the cloud edge IoT computing continuum.
Very good, thank you. And there is a connected question on security because, as you mentioned, there is the need to cooperate with the cluster 3 security project. So it says, how
That
is the
relates to this? Yes.
Sorry?
I think the question relates to exactly what you're saying. This cluster 3, yes.
Yeah, because they say they will run concurrently with the Cognitive Cloud project. Okay, so they say, may we count on a CSA to facilitate the collaboration with this? So I can answer directly, yes, you can, because that's the point of the EU Cloud Edge IoT initiative on this side. So yes, this is also part of the landscape. Then another one says, in research and practice, fog computing is often used in relation to edge computing or similarly. How would you position fog computing roughly with respect to the Cloud Edge IoT continuum strategy?
I'll leave Rolf to answer that.
Yeah, I think, as you know, the edge computing is a wide area, and we position edge computing between cloud infrastructure, which is application agnostic, and fine granular IoT infrastructure, which often is embedded into sort of specific domains. So we define it as new infrastructure as an orchestration between the two extremes. But certainly there have evolved many more terms, and fog computing is quite a long-term established. I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was from Cisco at a certain point in time. So we try to define with the CSAs to come up with sort of a navigator across those different terms, and particularly related to the use case in the projects, in order to see, you know, if you choose a certain term, it defines a certain challenges in technology, but at the same time, you know, you position certain stakeholders following, you know, developing the technologies and looking at new business models. So we try to map use cases to what is it more? Is it more fog computing, or is it more near edge computing, or intelligent edge, or decentralized intelligence, or swarm, or if you talk about connected cars, it has two elements. For instance, it has the element of orchestration between the connected car and the backend infrastructure, or it has these elements of taking decision on the fly on a very dynamic environment, which needs a lot of local and aggregated computing, which we may call thick edge computing. So we try to come up with sort of a brochure of the different projects, and also trying to map the projects to certain topology, where to position themselves in which part of this all landscape of edge computing. So we don't follow a clear definition, this is that and this is that. We try to position to give a tendency. Where does it go, roughly speaking? What is, you know, are they closer to the IoT, the edge, the local nodes? Are they closer to cloud infrastructure? I would guess, you know, for computing is closer to the cloud, central cloud infrastructure. And then see what does it mean for the value chain and for the technologies used. But this will be done then as part of the analysis of those clusters of the projects and their use cases. And I gave you one reference, you know, very recently last week, the Alliance IoT came up with a STRIA, and there in their STRIA, you know, they have a very fine granular definition of the different shades of edge computing.
Exactly, the conversation is already ongoing on these definition issues. There is another question on a very important topic that we haven't touched so far, which is energy efficiency and environmental impact. So concerning specifically the cognitive cloud areas, energy efficiency should be one of the objectives of the development, as in the call. Could you detail more about this aspect? Do you expect to have energy efficiency actions on the edge, on the cloud data center, or it's something that should be considered in every aspect of the development?
Well, since we're talking about the cognitive computing continuum, and what we said that, you know, you need to include all the components in this computing continuum, energy efficiency should be throughout this continuum, I would say.
But also,
maybe I can complement. I think if you go to the different individual nodes, the sensors or with the wireless sensors, definitely, energy efficiency is one of the prime goals, because, it defines the autonomy of the small sensors, the small edge nodes. You have to find a trade-off between local computing or sending the information off to a gateway or edge nodes or central computing infrastructure, which also has an impact on the energy consumption. So energy efficiency definitely is part of, if you go to the smaller nodes with the less of resource constrained devices. But in general terms, yes, I think it's always we look on all levels of the implementation. How do you design software, and what is the impact then on the energy consumption and the carbon footprint? I think that is common policy at the moment.
And this is the big challenge of having this management across the continuum, taking this into consideration as well.
Yeah, and probably also affects the programming models or the learning federated. So there are. So I would answer yes throughout the whole development, as you said. So I think it's clear now. There is another specific question on the involvement of Japanese and South Korean partner, and the question is just: but is it mandatory to have such partners or not?
As the call text says, is encouraged, but that is not mandatory. Okay.
Clear. Yep. Very good. Valentin, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we covered all the questions that were pending in the Q&A stream.
Yes.
Very good. So thanks a lot to all the public that submitted questions, and thanks to you to answer them. And then I think we can then proceed with the next slot, which is a presentation on the lump sum funding in Horizon Europe by Anna Zattaleli from Hadea. I will then share your presentation as well, Anna, right?
Thank you. Thank you, Giovanni.
Give me a second to find it, but it's lump sum funding. Yes, so I think it's this one. Right, and now new share. Is it right?
Yes, yes, that's the one. So hello, everyone. My name is Anna Zattaleli, and I am a call coordinator and program coordinator for Hadea, for Horizon Europe. And I'm here today to present to you the lump sum funding in Horizon Europe, focusing mostly on the planning of your application, the evaluation, the submission of your proposal, and the evaluation of the proposal. And we can go to the next slide. Thank you. So the first question is, why do we use lump sum funding now? In Horizon Europe, we introduced lump sum funding precisely because we wanted to reduce the administration and the error rate when it comes to the financial reporting. And like this, we make, if you want, in a way, the program a little bit simpler by removing the obligation of the applicants to report actual costs. This means that the program becomes easier to access, especially for small organizations and newcomers who often lack the experience and the capacity to cope with complex rules for actual costs. So the focus now is mostly on the implementation of the proposed activities rather than on the reporting on actual costs and financial reporting during the reporting periods of a project. In the next slide. Here are the basic principles of lump sums. As you know, lump sums are defined upfront and are fixed during the grant agreement process. Beyond that, the planning, the evaluation, the execution of the project selected does not change much. We use the same templates as in as per usual in Horizon Europe, depending on the type of action you're applying for, of course. We use the same evaluation criteria. We have the same payment scheme and technical reporting reporting, of course, remains the same. But what we have here with lump sums is one lump sum share per work package and per beneficiary. So the financial reporting now becomes much simpler because what you need to declare is whether a work package is completed or not completed when it comes at the end of its reporting period. And as you can see here down at the bottom, you see an Excel table. This is basically what you will see if your proposal is selected for funding, and this will be the Annex 2 attached to the grant agreement. Basically, you see a breakdown of the costs per beneficiary and per work package, and at the end, the total maximum grant amount. In the next slide. Thank you. Here are some tips when you prepare your proposal for a lump sum topic. You need to use the standard Horizon Europe application form, which of course you will find in the Funding and Tenders portal. The application form you will see there is for your information. What we advise you is to use the one provided in the submission portal, because that application form is tailored to it's customized for your topic, taking into consideration the topic conditions. What you need to do is to present, of course, the objectives and methodology of your project, and to address, of course, the expected outcomes and impacts as in any other Horizon Europe proposal. You need to provide in detail the activities covered by its work package. You need to define and justify the lump sums. For that, you must provide the detailed budget table that you will find also in the submission portal. You need to download it from there. And what you need to do is to provide cost estimation for each beneficiary when you fill in this table. In the next slide. Thank you. So in the detailed budget table, applicants provide cost estimation as mentioned earlier for each cost category per beneficiary and affiliated entity, if any, and per work package. The cost estimations must be an approximation of the actual costs, and they are subject to the same eligibility rules as in actual cost grants. They must be in line with applicants' normal practices. They must be reasonable and non-excessive, and they must be in line with the necessary for the proposed activities in the proposal. And the cost estimation are used to generate in the detailed budget table a breakdown of the lump sum shares per work package and per participant, and eventually it becomes the Annex 2 in the grant agreement. What is important here to have in mind is that we provide a budget table in the submission portal, and you need to download and use this one in particular with the format it is at the moment in the submission portal, and I think we will see that in the next slide. Here is how this budget table looks like. So it's a very detailed and complex, I would say, to fill it in, but it helps a lot during the implementation of the process because you will not have to report on financial elements. So you download the Excel table. The format is very important because we use macros in this Excel table. It means that when you introduce a new beneficiary in this Excel table, new tabs will be created, and automatically you will need to fill in the cost per cost category, of course, and then it calculates and breaks down the cost of the proposal per beneficiary and per work package. So use the format that is currently available in the submission portal, and when you finalize the document and you're sure that this is the Excel table you want to attach to your proposal, please save it as an Excel table and then upload it as such, and always keep a copy because it may need it for if you encounter any sort of issues during the submission of your application. It's always good to have a copy. Read very carefully the introduction, as you can see here, because it provides a lot of information on how to fill in this table correctly. In the next slide, we will see the project design here. So, what is important here is to have in mind how you're planning to execute the activities that you propose in your proposal. Because like this, you have to provide a number of work packages. Now, the design of this work plan is essentially and the same as in any other proposal for any other type of action. But except that the work for particular work packages with a long duration from the beginning to the end of the project, for example, like the project management, communication, or dissemination and exploitation, you may need to split it in several work packages, and this is because you may need, this is to facilitate a bit the cash flow in the project, because in order to be paid for in a reporting period, you need to mark whether a work package is completed or not. But when you plan these activities, you need to have in mind that a single activity is not a work package, a single task is not a work package, or a percentage of the progress of a task is not a work package. So have these elements in mind when you do plan your work packages. And in the next slide, we will see the evaluation of the lump sum proposals. As mentioned earlier, the proposals are evaluated against the three traditional standard evaluation criteria, which is the excellence, impact, and implementation. The cost estimations are assessed against the proposed activities under the implementation criterion. Experts, and we use external independent experts, will ensure that the cost estimations are reasonable and non-excessive, evaluated whether the proposed resources and the split of the lump sum allows completing the activities described in a proposal. Now, during the evaluation, if the experts find that the costs are overestimated, they can make concrete recommendations that will be visible in the evaluation summary report and will be taken into consideration if your proposal is invited to grant agreement preparation. And of course, this will be reflected in a modified lump sum amount in the grant agreement. The cost estimations that are clearly overestimated or underestimated, or if there are with flaws, then this will lead to a lower score under the implementation criterion. Here, this is the last slide actually. And before you start preparing your application on lump sums, you are advised to come to the Funding and Tenders portal. We have a dedicated page for lump sum where you will find all the information on how to prepare a proposal, the frequently asked questions. We also provide you there the information, what we provide as information to the external independent experts. The model grant agreement on lump sums, and it's always useful to have them in mind when preparing a proposal. And with that, I think we can proceed with the questions. I'm sure you will have questions.
Thank you very much, Anna. We can check now if we have questions in the chat on the topic of lump sum. Okay, so one I can see here says, how is completion of a work package determined? How does the completion of work packages relate to the usual 18 months reporting periods and project reviews? And what about travel and equipment costs? Are these also part of lump sum? So there are two questions. I say first, how the completion of a work package is defined.
Mm-hmm. So for this one, you have a reporting period as in every project, and when you declare, first is the project coordinator who declares if a work package is completed or not completed for this reporting period. Of course, it's important to mention that if a work package is not completed in the first reporting period, you can complete it in the next reporting period and be paid there. How it is assessed, we have reviews for each project where we use external monitors, and together with the project officer of your project, this is assessed. We assess the information. First, we check if you declared that the work package is completed or not, and then we assess from the technical report how this has been implemented, who has completed the work, and we do a quality assessment of the technical report that you will provide.
Thank you. And the second question from the same colleague is, what about travel and equipment costs? Are these also part of lump sums?
Yes, it is part of the lump sums, and you need to take them into consideration when you provide the cost estimations in the detailed budget table that you will have to attach. And with that, it's important to mention that in part A of the proposal, you have a very simplified budget table there, where you need to introduce also the total costs per beneficiary, the amount requested per beneficiary. So what you do when you prepare your proposal is first you compile all the information on the detailed budget table per beneficiary beneficiary and per work package, and then you transfer the total amount per beneficiary in the part A, where you will have to introduce. And yes, these costs should be taken into consideration when you do the cost estimations.
Okay, I think we don't have any more questions from the public at the moment. I wanted to ask you one thing. How does the prepayment work? Is there still a proportional prepayment and then the rest is with the work package completion or not?
A prepayment, I assume you mean the pre-financing
Yes,
of the project?
Yes, pre-financing.
Yes, yes, of course, it's the same rules as in Horizon Europe. For any other projects or topics, we have pre-financing, which is defined by the number of the reporting periods you have in a project. So the rules are the same.
Very good. Thank you. And if there are
Thank
no
you.
more questions, I would switch back to our main program. And so the next is now presentation about the support in preparing the proposal that is offered by the Idealist and presenting Edina Nemeth. Will you share your screen in your case, right?
Well, I sent you the presentation, but I can share it.
I have it as you prefer.
Okay.
So I can also show it. Give me just a second that I have to get it big. There it is. So this PowerPoint, and I'm now full screen. Here it is. Can you see it?
Yes, I can see it now.
Very good.
Okay, so I'm Edina Nemeth. I'm a national contact point. I am based in Hungary, but I am here today to represent a network, the network of Idealist. Idealist is basically a network of national contact points in every EU member state and associated country, and even way beyond in other countries where there's cooperation within Horizon Europe. So you can go to the next slide. Our role is basically to support proposers, and we support them at two levels. We support them with national services within each country. For example, help your organizations position themselves given the structure of Horizon Europe and the funding opportunities. And we support them also at the level of multinational services in areas where it makes sense that national contact points from across Europe cooperate to provide services together. Next, please. So what are the services that we are offering together as multinational services? Next, please. Perhaps some of the most visible ones that you have seen is we offer brokerage events. These brokerage events are held online or on site, and they give you an opportunity to indicate your interest in various call topics and indicate project ideas where you are looking for partners, and then get in touch with researchers, innovators across Europe whom wish to cooperate with you. Our system enables you to book online meetings with others who are interested in your project ideas or the expertise you offer. So this basically helps you find partners, but we also do some other services. For example, we hold trainings and webinars, some offered just to NCPs, but also others offered to the public. We help you check with your project ideas in various stages of your project development. We also help you navigate through our topic tree, through the topics available in Horizon Europe. And we have a toolbox that offers you some useful tools in the proposal development process. Next, please. So I'll go into a little bit of detail. So our topic tree, first of all, is one of the first tools that you can use when you start trying to find a topic that's interesting for you. Basically, it provides a linkage between various Horizon Europe topics. And it shows you how the topics are linked, how the areas have evolved over the years, what predecessor topics there may be. This can help you find previous projects or previous project participants. And it allows you to see what the new focus is in this year compared to previous instances of that topic. Next, please. So as a next step, once you know which topics you are targeting, we have the brokerage events. We already have a brokerage event ongoing online, which is open up until the deadline of these calls. Could you go to the next slide, please? So this is where you can find this event. Well over 1,000 participants have registered, including their profile and project cooperation interests. And you can contact them and have virtual meetings with them online up until the call deadline. So I encourage you to go visit this and register in case you're still looking for partners from some of your proposals. Next, please. So the next thing we offer is when the call comes online, we give you feedback on project ideas. Within our toolbox, we have a very short one-pager form that asks you some basic questions like what are the type of partners you're looking for, what are your aims during the project, which TRL level you are addressing. And this will give you a very, very short overview with which you can contact your national contact point and ask for feedback on your idea. Next, please. As we are currently already around 2 months away from the deadline, we offer a more in-depth proposal check service as well. We recently opened the registration for our full proposal check event. For this event, we hire external experts who have experience as Horizon Europe evaluators, and you get a 2-hour session with them to discuss your fully developed proposal. They give you feedback as if it was a real evaluation. So they go through one by one through all the evaluation criteria and critique your proposal. And this is usually held about 3-4 weeks before the deadline, giving you enough time to take into consideration the feedback that you receive and adjust your proposal to make it as good as possible by the time you have to submit it. So we invite you to register. The registration is ongoing right now, and the actual meetings with the experts will be held between 27th of February and 2nd of March this year. Next, please. So finally, here's our slide of where you can find us. We have our website, of course, where you can find useful resources. And we also have some social media sites where we're happy to send you information that's important about Horizon Europe or share the news that you would like to share with others. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks a lot. I'm checking if there are specific questions for in this one. No, we have a few questions that address previous topics. I think we can do these at the end. And I can now move back to the agenda. And now we have another session because we heard already a lot about what the calls are about and how important it is that proposals, they explain how they advance the state of the art and they align with communities, initiatives, and so on. And this is why we have this section where we have 5 illustrious speakers that will present research agendas from the point of view of their initiative and organization, so that at the end we will have a particularly comprehensive and varied, let's say, landscape of what is going on and what will be going on in the area of cognitive and computing continuum. So I would like to start with Koen de Bocher, the coordinator of HighPeak. So Koen, can you hear me? Yes.
Yes,
so
can
I? Yes, perfectly, very good. So can I hand over the screen to you and you will share your slides?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So I stop sharing. Good.
Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yes, but it's still the, let's say, the design mode, not the full screen. Now it is. Now it's full screen.
Okay, good. Thanks for the invitation. My name is Koen de Bosse. I'm the coordinator of HighPeak. It was already mentioned, HighPeak was created many years ago in 2004, and we recently started the seventh incarnation of HighPeak, HighPeak 7. So HighPeak is focusing on the system level, so from the processor level to the accelerators to the tools to program them and everything. We focus less on the technological level, which is below, and also not on the applications. Of course, we have some members that are active in these areas, but our core business is actually the system level. We have at this moment around 800 members, and they bring in their colleagues and students, so that's another 1,500. We have people from 500 institutions in 50 countries, of course, all the 27 countries of the EU, but also some surrounding countries. And our membership is free. So we represent a community of around 2,200 people here in Europe. Our objectives are, we have 6 objectives at this moment. We want to do networking and constituency building. We want to do road mapping and vision building. We also do value network creation and partnership coordination. So we work with some partners and try to synchronize and to coordinate our activities. We help the European Commission with the policy development, and we also do dissemination. I will say a few words about some of the objectives that we have here. For instance, the conference. We have a yearly conference that takes place in January, attracting more than 500 people, where the community meets and well, networks and shares and disseminates information through during 3 days. So there's a lot of people. Also, a lot of companies are joining in increasing numbers the conference. We also have a training activity, which is a summer school attended by about 200 people. 2/3 are PhD students, 1/3 are more senior profiles. Every year in July. So that's a training activity that we are doing. And then we also have job activities, recruitment activities for many years. And these are the numbers. So nowadays we have something like 1,000 open job positions that we post on our website, or that our members are posting on our website. 1,000 is about 5 per working day. That's a lot. And we try to help the companies and universities to fill in these open positions. So there's a real war for talents going on at this very moment. Another activity, which is the most important one in this session, is actually the strategic research agenda. We call it the HighPeak Vision, where we try to sketch an overview of the current challenges. We just recently published the 2023 vision. It is available at our website. This is a document. It was printed this month and launched actually at a conference 2 weeks ago. And that's the document by the community and for the community. So it compiles the ideas about the challenges from the community in one consistent document. And then everybody is free to use this document to write proposals, to convince the funding agencies, also the national ones, to create calls, etc. So for this vision, so we have the main theme is the race, the theme of a race against time because of external constraints like global warming, also against well, other geographies that are developing, for instance, AI technology. So we also want to keep to stay in this race, obviously, and also against the rest of the world. And the main theme of the vision is that there are 6 races ongoing at this moment, one for the next web, one in artificial intelligence, one in new hardware, including quantum computing, one in cybersecurity, one in sovereignty, and one on sustainability. So I'm sure that everybody in this call knows that these are indeed major challenges, and we want to contribute as a network to help our members to do research in this area and to contribute. The first one, the next web, is mentioned in red because this one is linked to a CSA for the call between for collaboration between the EU and the United States through the National Science Foundation. And for that, we have been doing, it has already been mentioned by Jan Komarek earlier, we have been helping the Commission in making the first contacts And the subtitle was here, Fundamental Advancements in Programming, Coordination and Intelligence Across the Computing Continuum. And the first meeting that we organized was in the margin of the IoT Week in Dublin in June last year, 2022. And here you see this was a meeting between 2 representatives of Europe and 2 of the US. And they came together, and basically what they did is to decide to organize a more in-depth workshop in November for two sessions of 3 hours in the evenings, because both parties had to be able to attend it. And this was actually looking for possibilities to catalyze long-term research collaborations between the US and Europe, in the EU, and also to bring together complementary expertise from the European and the American systems research communities. So that was the goal. And there were 2 days, well, actually 2 evenings that we have been meeting with some researchers from the US and from Europe, giving presentations. And all this has resulted into a document, so-called white paper on the continuum of computing. And you can find it. It has been published in the HighPeak Vision, page 63 to 66. It's a short document, and that contains actually the basic ideas that followed from these 2 workshops in November. So that's a very good input for people who would like to submit a proposal for this CSA. And a number of recommendations in that document are, first of all, that, well, the HighPeak community proposes to sustain the EU-US joint collaboration. So that's clear, and that has now been materialized in the call. And also, well, the topics is unifying specification and programming abstractions for the computing continuum, as already mentioned in previous presentations today, and also to look for AI in the edge. So these are a number of topics that have to be pre-competitive. We do not want to compete with products, of course. So this is a collaboration between researchers in the US and in Europe. So all this information is publicly available at the HighPeak website. And if there is such an initiative, and well, the call is written that activities have to happen in collaboration with HighPeak, we have the conference to do dissemination, where also events can be organized. So we are definitely a network with whom you can collaborate to reach or to work on the goals and the objectives of this call. So that's it. Back to Giovanni, I think.
Yep, thank you very much. And I can get the screen back and just use it to go with the next presentation, that is, as you can see, Ana Garcia from the BDVA. So Ana, if you're ready, I can just hand over to you and you can get the screen as well.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me well.
I hear you very well.
Okay, very good. So I will share my screen in a moment, and just to see that everything goes well. And you can see my screen now, right?
Yeah, now it's perfect, full screen.
Okay, perfect. So first, thank you for having BDVA here. I think I'm very happy actually that I'm speaking after Koen, because I was 2 weeks ago in the HighPeak conference, and some of the topics that I will present actually were discussed in a workshop there. So it makes a very, very strong connection. So I will provide a bit of an overview activities and then enter into the priorities for our research agenda. And I just want to put a bit, I wanted to put this bit of publicity first, because when I was preparing this, my intervention to this event, I thought about this upcoming event that is coming for us, and it's quite unusual. Just look at the topic, no, data meets infrastructure at the edge. And that's quite unusual for our events, but it's thanks to the stakeholders that are helping us to organize this event, that this topic that actually brings a lot of computing continuum to it. So I just wanted to highlight that that also our communities get it very, very connected to the topic. And of course, you all are invited to come and also to contribute to the program. I want to say I have a couple of slides, 3 about BDVA. Many of you know BDVA. So just talking about, we are, as many others, industry-driven association working on big data and AI with quite a well-balanced composition of industry and research all over Europe. connected the policies to the data, AI, but also everything that has to be with the digital decade. And also we deliver a lot of our work through different partnerships and collaboration. And because we have been known in the past for being the part of the Big Data Value PPP, and also because contributions to the joint undertaking now, EuroHPC joint undertaking, and the full supporting and supporter and founding member of AI Data and Robotics Partnership. And then I will also give some visibility to the TransContinuum initiative, where HighPeak is also involved, and the Data Spaces Business Alliance. And I see Francesca will speak later. That is a key initiative bringing to join forces together to really accelerate data spaces in Europe. So this is when we talk about the stack or where we are technologically speaking, and I know Andreas Metzger is also one of the speakers from NESI, and I'm sure he's smiling. This is a very old slide about our previous partnership, but helps a lot to those who don't know where we are coming from and where are the areas that we cover. If you look here at the stack, in particular the dark blue, if we can call it dark, those are the areas that have been our core for many years. No? And you see here data management, data protection, data processing architectures, analytics, visualization, and user interaction. This has evolved a lot to be data-driven AI. And then layers that are more transversal, like data sharing, that goes take us to data spaces, and then development and engineering and standards. But you see also the other ones that are not our core areas, but I have been always areas where we really need to collaborate so closely with, and it's here where you can see many of the topics that have been discussed today. So it's our, let's say, tradition to work very close to this area, and more you will see in the topics of our agenda that this is becoming also quite key for us. If you look, this is our current structure of the task forces. Why I'm bringing this, because you can see in big topics, the big priorities for the community. Please focus on the yellow and the green, because the verticals are many and the foundational task forces are quite generic. But then here you see the key topics of course, data spaces, trustworthiness of industrial AI, where also we are working now. We integrated a community of ethical AI and machine learning and machine intelligence. And interestingly as well, because in emerging topics, we are for, let's say, 6 months or more, the community have been working in the metaverse. And actually, this has been launched very recently officially with the BDVA. But you see also, besides also non-technical topics that we work very intensively with, standards and benchmarking, data and AI technologies in general, data protection, a key topic, and everything related to convergence between computing, big data, in particular data management and AI, is a big topic also for us, and some examples, very high level, coming in a moment. This is very quickly just to show you, and that affects to many associations like ours. These days, really, the ecosystems are very complex, and we really need to take so many variables now. So associations like ours always lie between policies and technologies, and between research and innovation on the market. But there are so many things to consider and so many things we need to work with. And I think it's important to highlight the complexity of the ecosystems and the importance of the collaborations from different stakeholders to achieve our objectives. Then I'm going to focus on just very high level 3 initiatives that connect a lot with the topic, and also happy that HighPeak was before me, because this is an initiative that was actually driven by ETP for HPC around the computing continuum, that it was called TransContinuum, and many associations have been involved. Several papers has been written addressing several use cases, and now this has crystallized by supporting activities in Destination Earth. So I won't say anything else, but important again, how important it is for this topic that we build collaboration among our initiatives. I bring also data spaces, and I'm not going to talk more about the data spaces business alliance, as this very business oriented, but more looking at the research part. You might know that the Data Space Support Center was launched very recently. That's part of the data spaces, the Digital Europe program, so very deployment oriented, but we want to also look at the future. And from the Data Spaces Support Center, we are also connecting to research projects, and I hope we can establish good collaboration with those of you working in this computing continuum. And so that's important. BDVA is one of the partners, together with with many other associations and partners, and that's important. And then another example that links us directly with certain aspect of the research priorities, and this was one of the reasons of my participation in HiPEC 2 weeks ago. So as also other associations of our kind, we work a lot with projects because we really want to extract a lot of knowledge from it and to bring our members and collaboration partners and projects together. So an example is work that we are developing with these 6th grade projects in extreme data analytics, that some of you might be part of it or actually be now listening. And these projects are really developing these methods and tools for data processing, machine learning, and artificial intelligence for these complex federated distributed systems and handling extremely large volumes and extreme data. So is very connected to the topic, and there are many projects very connected to the topic. And just for you to see I'm not going to go details into that, but aspects that in discussions with these projects, we are looking into the future of what things are needed and what aspects are needed for collaboration. And here you can see aspects of architectures for gathering heterogeneous data, the research on methods for extreme scale analytics, Trustworthy AI and the link to the AI on Demand platform, and also aspects of addressing the data resources gaps, access to data, etc., and other parts. And this links me to my final part. So in relation to the strategic research and innovation agenda, so we are now working in our 2023 version. We have been releasing strategic agendas since I think 2014. The latest version was actually connected to the AI data and robotics partnership, and we plan to release this year one more core to the BDVI activities. And I just want to put on the table some topics that still are not public, but there are 3 slides, but very quickly, and they are split on AI and data and other topics, and I don't know why, but just for you to see why, what are the main discussion topics in our community. And here you can see topics of personalized AI for AI, and AI for creative processes, AI trained on hybrid sources of information, frugal AI, edge AI, from AI, deployment of AI, developing non-native apps for deployment across multi-cloud environments, AI lifecycle management, and just more topics connected to the embedded and edge AI. And then for the data, and of course there is lack of time, I cannot go through all these topics, but here you see things that are already work in progress, but also things that are quite new, are less popular, like the use of large natural language models to support semantic interoperability, automation and interoperability of AI methods in data ecosystems, etc., etc. So I leave also for the audience, because this is quite a long list, but these are many of the topics that actually are being discussed by the community. Also very important, everything related to compliance, as data and AI is being now under strong regulations, so tools for compliance are very important. And you see the communities discussing a lot about automated compliance, compliance by model, evolutionary compliance, so many different aspects, technical and non-technical, that are important for us. Ethics is becoming more and more important, and definitely trust, privacy, and security beyond compliance, still it is there. And with that, that's all from my side. I just want to thank you very much for inviting us here today, and apologize that I had to go so quick, and I hope soon you can also have access to our strategic agenda. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Anna, and we can go back for the next contribution, that is, as you can see now, hopefully, Francesco Bonfiglio, CEO of Gaia-X. Francesco, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I hope you can see me.
Yeah, yeah, now I see you as well. Will you share your screen directly then? So should I stop?
I tried to share my screen, but I'm not allowed.
No, because I have to first stop. I think now try.
I think I can do it now. It's coming. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So you can see me, you can hear me, and you can see my screen. So thank you very much, Giovanni, and good afternoon, everybody. I think a lot have been said, so I hope I would not be boring too much. But quickly, I wanted to give you my perspective on this new Horizon calls, and more in general, I wanted to start with my consideration about the future of European digital ecosystems. First of all, I think Horizon Europe program has been, in the last 2 decades, the most powerful tool to help Europe innovate. And in these recent editions of Horizon, I mean, the past years, it introduced requirements and elements to ensure a certain level of market adoption of the solutions that were financed. Originally, Horizon was mainly, if not totally, research and innovation. But I think this is the right direction. Why? Because this is actually what we have to do for 2 reasons. One is the need for data economy to get started. And to get started the data economy, we need to introduce the digitalization of the value chains. The digitalization of value chains goes through the implementation of common data spaces, which is one of the objectives of the European data strategy, and of course, one of the objectives of Gaia-X. But most importantly, I think there is another fact everybody's aware nowadays, which is the fact that there is less of a technology gap to be filled by research and innovation program. And actually, the gaps are different. I think there are gaps in terms of understanding what technology can already do. And just think about GPT-3 and ChatGPT as we speak today, and think about the awareness of the potential of data that most of the enterprise and most of the people dealing with data still don't know, because most of the data are untapped and not used. So we're just scratching the surface of available data without inventing new data. Also, but not less important, I think there is a lack of structure in the management of existing organizations and enterprises to drive innovation as part of a corporate strategy. Last but not least, there is a cultural gap on technology, which is often filled by simple statements which are more kind of political slogans, like we cannot live without, American technology. So they can be in favor or against the GAFAM, but there is little understanding of the impact of this dependency and on the real possibility to reduce it, but most importantly, of what we really need to make computing continuum and cognitive computing becoming a reality, and a reality that can help driving data economy. So let's have a look at what we are talking about today. We keep talking about data spaces. Everybody understands we need data spaces to make data economy real. But what are data spaces about? So what we miss is not technology, but we miss some technology characteristics. We need distributed, not centralized computing technology because of data gravity. We need federation mechanisms because data are distributed everywhere, and we need to share that across trusted participants. So we need trust and identity management in order to have participants participating in a trusted federation to share data. Also, we need secure data exchange mechanisms to ensure the control of the value shared. We need interoperability of services to enable distributed intelligence. And last but not least, we need controllability and transparency of services. So without these characteristics, we do not need new technology. We do not need a new generation of technology, and we do not possibly need to invest in research and innovation to build something new, but we need to overcome a roadblock that is impeding the adoption of existing technology. So if technology is so important, we need to ask us the key question: are we in control or controlled by technology? And are our ecosystems ready to implement these distributed ecosystems of data which are necessary to populate federated learning and cognitive computing and computing continuum, as this new Horizon Europe calls ask for? The net answer is no. Technologies we have are not controllable, and data are many but disjoint, as well as infrastructures are many and disjoint. So through Gaia-X, we want to achieve a very simple objective. First of all, move from a concentrated proprietary and opaque model of data infrastructures. You can call them cloud, but actually I think the word cloud is obsolete, into a new generation of distributed, open, and interoperable data infrastructure. So basically moving from a model where we give control to a model where we get back control of our data. That's what we mean by trust and sovereignty. 3 words: transparency, controllability, and interoperability of services. And we want to join these 2 halves of the X. So the upper half, which is the data ecosystems, which are many but fragmented, and the lower half of the X, which is infrastructures, ecosystems, many but totally fragmented as well, through a new gluing mechanisms, which are basically these 3 pillars: data exchange, federation, and compliance. Why? Because you need data exchange mechanisms to exchange data, because you need federation mechanisms to trust participants in a federation. Otherwise, you will never build any federated learning. You will never get advantage of the data in a digital value chain. But most importantly, you need compliance to make sure that the technologies you use behind are trustworthy. And that's not the case. But what do you need to trust? You need transparency, controllability, and interoperability. You are definitely strongly dependent on the provision of technologies that allow for objective measurement of trust. And of course, I believe, and this is what GaiaX is trying to do, we need to overcome, or if you want, invert the paradigm shift from technology regulation, which has been the main focus of also the European Commission in the last decade, into regulation technology. In other words, what GaiaX is trying to do is to build a technology platform that not only provide mechanisms to help data exchange and the development of data spaces, but also automates as much as possible the verification of the underlying regulations and rules. Otherwise, like I keep saying in my speeches, regulation will increase like entropy in the universe, but the capability to verify it is by nature limited. So in a nutshell, what you see here is what the European data strategy is all about. On the right-hand side is about building a computing continuum in the next decade, which is basically the conjunction between cloud and edge. On the left side is the need to build common data spaces to do what? To enable real data economy. And that's exactly what GaiaX does. On one side, we enable the creation of common data spaces, joining our almost 400 members across all the sectors to build projects to share data and build new business models and or optimize the existing ones. On the other side, we enable the creation of federated, transparent, controllable, and interoperable infrastructure spaces. One needs the other, and that's what we are doing at GaiaX. So what GaiaX is aiming to is at succeeding in the most relevant project, not just for Europe, which is the need to build a new generation of trustworthy technology. Like I said at the beginning, we don't need new technology. We need to trust and start adopting existing ones, but they need by all means to become transparent and controllable. In this sense, the recent calls of Horizon go exactly in the same direction, that totally supported by the necessary elements that GaiaX is developing. Namely, GaiaX in the last 2 years developed a framework made of 3 assets: functional specifications, technical specification, and software code to build 3 pillars: compliance to verify the fulfillment of a defined set of rules and policies, federation to enable the distributed computing and data ecosystems, and data exchange to support safe and secure data exchange in an ecosystem, so in a data space. So what you see here is the logical structure of the GaiaX framework. This is what we deliver, which is based on these 3 pillars, which are the main ingredients to build any digital recipe, any digital economy or data economy recipe. You need compliance, you need data exchange, and you need federation. And if you go on our website, you will find it very well sketched, and you can navigate through the 3 layers of functional specs, tech specs, and code, and the 3 pillars of federation, compliance, and data exchange. And this is all we deliver for the common good of everybody. If you want to look at it on a different side, we started in 21, when I joined, by the way, to work on what GaiaX is. In 2022, we started developing this structure of the GaiaX framework. And in 2023, and this is the good news, we're going to start operating what GaiaX is. What I mean is that by March, we're going to deploy the first version. It's going to be a pilot version, but anyway, we're going to start having a few nodes across Europe to become GAIA-X compliant and or to reach out to GAIA-X compliant services. And we call them the digital clearinghouses. So basically, given the new value is data, the digital clearinghouses are nothing more than the new generation of clearinghouses where you trust transaction of value. And basically, the digital clearinghouses is where you go to get the clearance of your services, and where you go to create a federation, where you go to join a federation, and on and on and on. So all the questions you see on the right side: what does it take to become GAIA-X compliant? How to be a GAIA-X catalog? How to be part of a GAIA-X catalog? How to build my own catalog, etc. We are going to provide an answer as we speak. So GAIA-X has become true and has moved in this new generation of deployment. In a nutshell, this is our roadmap. We started in 21 with the setup. We continued in 22 with the adoption. And we are now in the growth phase of our 5 years plan. And in the growth phase, we are deploying the clearinghouse. We're going to create a catalog which is already filled up with almost 2,000 services from more than 20 cloud service providers and providers in general across Europe. We're going to grow the catalog, and we're going to influence, let me say, the market to include compliance to GAIA-X in the procurement rules. That's how we want to create to trigger a market adoption, and that's how we believe Europe needs to do in order to start seriously adopting, let me say, data, because otherwise data will stay where it is now, under the desk in private on-premises organizations, hardware and software. 80% of the data and application still is there. This is an example of the many projects already adopting the GAIA-X framework and standards. And I think Horizon Calls should take a full advantage of adopting the GAIA-X as a reference framework, leveraging not only what we're delivering in terms of specification and code and technology, but also the experience of dozens of projects implementing real services in the real market based on the GAIA-X decentralization, distributed computing principle. So cognitive computing requires distributed and decentralized data spaces on which enable federated learning, and this could leverage bazillions of real data coming from real industry to combine research and development to achieve, like I said at the beginning, a real market impact. So how we do that? We do grouping together as many members as we want. Our members are not joining for free, so we live only on our members' fee, and we don't get any single penny of public subsidies. That's why we are credible, because we represent the voice of the market. At the same time, we can only be successful if our members deploy GAIA-X in the real market. So we have 20 working groups. We have thousands of people working. We have 360 members, growing almost 400 as we speak, all working together to achieve one single mission. And basically, that's why I said we are kind of the European Union of data economy, because we bring together society, economy, regulation. We bring together our members. We develop deliverables. We work together to define, let me say, a common view of the market, joining the users of technology, the providers of technology, the researchers, the universities, and we create a common set of rules, specification, code, and technology to achieve two key objectives: create common federated infrastructures and create common federated data spaces. So without trust mechanisms, it would be impossible to adopt any technology. Without federation technology, it would be impossible, I believe, to achieve computing continuum. Without data spaces, it would be impossible, I believe, to train the next generation of neural networks through federated learnings. Without federated learning from trusted data sources, our future life will be modeled and ruled by data we have no idea and control where they come from. And with powerful platforms like GPT, this is a real risk. So it is not a matter of competition. It is a need to ensure that we are in control of the decision that these systems of artificial intelligence will drive in our society, I think, as it is already happening. So without systems of trust like GAIA-X, it will be difficult, if not impossible, to rule systems of technologies that will turn into ruling our lives and society, as I think it is already starting to happen today. So without moving from a pure research and innovation perspective into a more research and development of new product, of existing products, using existing data federated in a secure way, such that we can share and leverage the data, it will be almost impossible to build new systems of intelligence. The move from system of records to system of data is already over, but nobody is realizing, simply because it is not visible but hidden in the underground of the algorithms running on a handful of data platforms ruling the data of the planet, where we are with the shift from systems of data to systems of intelligence. Europe must act quickly and united, and I think GAIA-X is, I hope GAIA-X is going to provide a lot of answers to the still unanswered questions of how to trust existing technology, how to leverage existing data, how to expand the use of data, and how to become in control of our data without reinventing the wheel. Now, I think we are absolutely aligned with this latest call of Horizon Europe. And just as a matter of fact, I'm glad to say that GAIA-X is not just for Europe, but is for Europe and beyond. And we have opened, as many of you might know or have heard about, a GAIA-X hub in the United States, for which just a few weeks ago, we provided an endorsement for a project in collaboration with the NSF. So there is a de facto collaboration across borders, a de facto collaboration across science institutions, a de facto awareness of the need for sovereignty, of the need to support the development of intelligent infrastructures to collect data from, like I said, borderless networks. But to do that, we need to create computing continuum, cognitive computing across real data spaces shared across trustworthy technologies and data platforms that GAIA-X is aiming to develop. With that said, I hope I provided you some elements to be curious enough, and I look forward to see strong collaboration between the respondents to these Horizon Europe calls and GAIA-X. And I hope this has been useful. I hand over back to you, Giovanni.
Thank you very much, Francesco. And now we again move back to the next speaker. That is, there you go. That is Dr. Ignacio Llorente, CEO of Open Nebula Systems, but here actually as present as the chair of the Cloud Edge Working Group of the European Alliance for Industrial Data Edge and Cloud. So Ignacio, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfectly.
Yep.
And I would hand over the screen to you again, right? You have your slides.
Okay, excellent. Yes, 1 second, because there is an issue with the sharing the screen. Oh, I had to reopen. Just 1 second.
Mm-hmm. Was he disconnected? Is Ignacio disconnected?
He disappeared.
Yeah, exactly. I thought he meant that he has to reopen the presentation. So maybe we switch then to the next.
I think he's launching the Zoom again.
Yeah.
So
we can wait a little bit, but then, okay, it's back. Yeah, it's coming back. Okay, very good.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, yes, I had some issues.
Yeah, and
okay, now I think it's working. Okay, I think I can share it. Okay. Good. Let me go to the presentation. Can you see the presentation now?
Yes, now it's full screen presentation. Go ahead. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, thank you so much. Good. Yes, so thanks. First of all, of course, thanks for having me. Good afternoon. You know, the aim of this presentation is to introduce the European Alliance for Industrial Data, Edge and Cloud, and invite you to join these new initiatives. I mean, the aim, that you will see now with the contents of my slides, that the aim of this alliance is to foster the development of next generation edge and cloud technologies in Europe. Well, my name is Ignacio Llorente. I'm the CEO of Renewable Assistance and the chair of the Cloud to Edge working group in the European Alliance. Well, let's first discuss, the motivation behind this alliance. Well, I think that, in this venue, we all are well aware of the strategic importance of cloud computing to European industry and public sector. Just to give you two data, is 41% of enterprises use the cloud, okay, and 73% of them are highly dependent on cloud computing. So this shows how cloud computing is important, for a European economy. That's one thing, but at the same time, we have an important dependency of the European cloud market. The EU is heavily dependent on non-European cloud services, infrastructure, and technologies. Let me give you some data here. For example, about cloud services, you have here a graph that shows how the growth of the cloud market in Europe, and we have to highlight here that the European share has declined from 26% in 2017 to 13% in 2022. This is quite important. That means, that the market in Europe is growing, but the share, by, European companies is decreasing quickly. That's one thing. This is cloud service providers, okay? Let's now evaluate infrastructure software market, because it's not only about the cloud services. The problem we have in Europe is about the technology as well, about the building components of the cloud and edge solutions. You see this graph here. It shows how the growth of the system infrastructure software market in Europe, okay, is growing, of course, but none of the top competitors are from the EU. This is a market completely led by US companies. If we go to open source project, open source software, you have here another table that shows that the top contributors to the Open Infrastructure Foundation that contains, projects like, for example, OpenStack. In this case, you see that EU companies contribute only 5% of the code. And moreover, these projects are led by non-European companies, and all these foundations are non-European based. They are US based. So this is a big problem, because you see that cloud computing grows. It's quite important for the European economy, but at the same time, we see how the market share of the European companies is decreasing. You see how you go to the competitors in the infrastructure software market. Most of the companies, top 10 competitors are US, and you go to the open source. I mean, the contributions by EU companies, the contribution is very low, it's margin. Okay, this is the scenario. Good. If we go now and see which opportunities we have, it's clear that we have edge computing, and edge computing brings new opportunities. How? Well, we know that now computing is centralized, cloud. 80% of computing is centralized, and the idea is that in a few years, 80% of the compute will be distributed at the edge. And if we go to the data compass targets, we see that one important target is to have 10,000 edge nodes by 2030, and to achieve 75% of cloud attained by EU enterprises in 2030. Well, this introduced the alliance because the aim of the alliance, or whether the main aim of the alliance, is to develop the technology, to define the technology components that allows EU companies to lead this new market, to lead the cloud to edge and the edge computing market. Well, in the alliance, you will see now that it brings together, business, member states, representatives, and different types of experts. The idea, or one of the aims mostly, is to assist the European Commission in designing the business investment implementation plan to deploy the next generation cloud capabilities. How? Well, the idea is by fostering the development and deployment of next generation secure, low carbon, and interoperable cloud edge and services. One of the important messages is that the Alliance has a very important technology focus. So the aim of the Alliance is to achieve technology leadership in three main trends. The first one is increased distribution and the centralization of data processes capacities across the continuum. The second one is to promote an alternative European model for the offering of hyperscalers. And the second one is to meet the highest standards in terms of data protection, security, climate neutrality, resource efficiency, interoperability, and portability. Well, this summarizes the timeline of the alliance. The European Alliance builds on the European Data Strategy from February 2020. Its creation was endorsed by the European Council and the Declaration of the European Cloud, signed by all member states in October 2020. You can see in the timeline that the alliance was launched in July 2021. We have our first meeting, the kickoff meeting, in December 2021, and we had our first assembly a couple of months ago in Brussels in December 2022. In a few weeks, we will release a new version of the industrial roadmap. About the structure of the alliance, first, it's important to clarify that the work in the alliance is facilitated by the European Commission, by DG Connect. The alliance is organized in three different working groups. There is one working group for member states cooperation, and there are two industry working groups. One is defense and aeronautics, and the other one is Cloud to Edge working group. This is the working group that I coordinate. And in particular, the aim of this working group is to bring together the main EU industry players in cloud computing in order to prepare cloud and edge technology roadmap and to identify investments for joint development and deployment, always related to next generation of European cloud edge and technologies. This is our vision for the future of enterprise cloud computing. Of course, it's no longer only about on-prem enterprise cloud or public cloud computing. It's about how to manage, how to orchestrate resources and capabilities from different types of providers. We think that the strategic challenge here is how to make IoT, edge, cloud, and data center converge towards a computing continuum to support the execution of any type of workload. The working group is organized in different task forces. Right now, there are 10 different task forces. Each task force has 2-3 leaders and between 5 to 10 members. We have 2 task forces that are general. We have one that is about the edge computing landscape in Europe, mostly about open source projects and initiatives, about the standard bodies and about business models. We have a second task force that is about sovereignty, but it's not only data sovereignty, it's mostly about technology sovereignty, okay? And then we have 3 transversal task forces. One is for climate neutrality and resource efficiency, another for cybersecurity, another for interoperability and portability. And then we have 5 task forces that they cover, the typical layers of any cloud solution. Bottom up, you have edge and data center infrastructure, network integration and connectivity, cloud edge foundation infrastructure, infrastructure and platform services, and application and data services. Right now, we are 45 industrial members that represent cloud providers, tech operators, technology providers, and service providers in Europe. And our main focus right now is to create a new industrial roadmap. I think it was some months before the creation of this alliance, a group of 27 European CEOs submitted an European Industrial Technology Roadmap for the next generation cloud and edge offering. That was in May 2021. And now we are working to create a new version of this roadmap. This version will be available in a few weeks. In November 2022, in the first assembly of the Alliance, we presented the executive summary. So the thing here is to announce this and to say that please stay tuned if you are interested in having more information about this roadmap, because it will be out in a few weeks. what to expect? I mean, basically, you will see in this roadmap that we have defined use cases that we think will be strategic for the future edge cloud in Europe. We will also define technology priorities. This means those activities that are related to research, development, and innovation that we think are important and we have to prioritize to build next generation cloud edge continuum capabilities. We have also included deployment priorities. Those are more related to those priorities for the deployment of the cloud to edge infrastructure and to enable the initial rollout of the next generation use cases. And we will also define, we have defined deployment challenges of the European cloud to edge market. Well, I think that one important message here is that we would like to invite you to join this initiative. You have here the URL where you can apply. If you are interested in any of these aspects that you have in this slide, like interoperability, multi-cloud approaches, climate neutral sustainability, edge deployment, showing cloud stack, defense cloud, rules and standards, European common data spaces, and telco edge cloud. And just to finalize, a couple of inspirational quotations that I think that that summarize very well, the aim of this of the working group and the alliance. An important message. I mean, we think that unless Europe is able to produce its own open source cloud technologies, we think that our data economy and data sovereignty will always be in the hands of non-European corporations and governments. Now, this is our view about the state, in the cloud market. Okay, so that's it. Thank you very much, and of course, I'm available for any question.
Thank you very much, Ignacio. We will have a Q&A session at the end, unless there is already something in the chat, which I haven't seen. And because then I would move on to the next presentation. Thanks a lot. Let me share again. So now we have Andreas Metzger, Vice Chair of the Steering Committee in NESSI, that will provide the next presentation. I already see you, Andreas, so you're still muted, but I'm sure I will be able to hear you. So if you can now share your screen and start with your slides, then I think we are all set.
Thank you very much, Giovanni. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, perfectly.
Okay. So thank you very much for inviting me to provide the view of NESSI. NESSI is the European Association for Software, Data and Digital Services. I'll say a little bit more about NESSI. We go way back. So we were one of the EC recognized European technology platforms in Framework Program 7 already. We're currently 15 partners, something you could consider as a full member in other associations. We're 400 members and we represent the major ICT stakeholders, so really industry, academia, the different layers of the ICT stack. What we've been doing in the last couple of years is to focus our strategy, contributions, recommendations in one main direction. This is making sure that there's awareness about the relevance of software and service engineering, where I think I would really underline this engineering part of things. So we're not really about technology building blocks. We're really about how we can build service and software engineering systems. And this is also what I'll show in the later slides. And with this kind of advocate and ambition, we were also reaching out to one of the key activities in the European funding landscape. So we're strongly engaging with the Key Digital Technologies Partnership, with smart networks and services, and obviously also, of course, with AI, data and robotics. And we have working collaborations either directly or with our full partners, with the Alliance for Cloud, with Gaia X, and also with BDVA. So waving the hand to Anna here to say hi, to be seeing you again. It's great. So that's in a nutshell what NESSI is about. Let me spend the rest of the time basically walking you through some of the elements we think are key if you look at the cross-cutting and essential nature of software and service engineering. which in parts are reflected in the current calls, in the work program, in strategic research agendas of other partnerships. But I think there's much more room to deliver innovations if we also look at this more like engineering processes lifecycle level. And the first slide here is looking at what we call the service engineering stack in a sense. You could relate this very nicely to the Cloud Edge IoT continuum. So the question is how you can build technology that allows you to use computing resources, starting with the lowest level. We're not dealing with, of course, it's really the electrical hardware platforms, but then starting with virtualization, operating environment, frameworks, applications, human-machine interfaces. And for these, let's say for this area, we published 2 white papers. So this is the mode of working, that we're not writing these very long research agendas, which cover all the eventualities, but really try to pinpoint the key points, use this as a kind of way to engage with the community. It's usually like a 5-page document with the key recommendations and insights. And one of them is on human centricity and the other on the computing continuum. So very much aligned with discussions we had before. I think the human centricity is something which is not so visible in this line of calls. I mean, they're called data, if you compare it with the human line of calls. But Francesco very nicely mentioned this term trust, which is resonating also what we think is an important aspect of these future systems. So if you want to have a little bit more concrete directions we think are worth pursuing is very much in line with the current calls, multi-agent, distributed, decentralized, intelligent for managing the infrastructure. Then doing AI-driven exploration of how you can orchestrate the elements of your applications across this infrastructure. Looking at the human in order to really understand, can we raise the level of abstraction by trying to express the requirements towards what the compute continuum, what the application should do more on the level of intent-driven. So expressing it in terms of goals and not concrete operational requirements. And then lastly, of course, the key thing is how we can achieve trustworthiness. Also for this computing continuum, how we can make sure that the resource management, the infrastructure management is compliant. And we think this AI-driven infrastructure management calls then for explainable AI techniques to increase trust. For example, are we sure that resources are managed in a way that they're unbiased, that they're fair, that they're truthful? So if you're interested in looking a little bit further in these topics, the links to the white papers are on the bottom of this page. The second element, and I personally, because I'm a software engineer and teach software engineering students, I think that's even more relevant because the nice previous presentation was clearly showing that we cannot compete with the hyperscalers in Europe. So we have to understand where we can leverage our competencies and skills. And I strongly believe this is on the software engineering side, especially related to the embedded edge IoT side of software engineering, where Europe always was very strong. And in order to leverage these new compute continuum capabilities, what we urgently need is also new lifecycle models to leverage this infrastructure, right? So it's not enough to say you have this really great AI-driven cognitive computing continuum if the applications you build are not really built towards this target, so you cannot really leverage the opportunities you have in the infrastructure. And one key element is that we see a move away from the, I think, relatively modern DevOps lifecycle, widely adopted in practice, where you have a strong integration between development and operation of the systems, to a lifecycle model in NESSI we term DevOps Adapt, where the systems, the applications, are able to self-observe, self-modify in order to adapt to changing environments, changing situations, changing user requirements. Again, there's 2 white papers that drill further down on this. The one is on software engineering and artificial intelligence, and the other is on software engineering and key digital technologies, where we picked some of the key points here. So the first is, I would say a couple of years ago, it was called model-driven software engineering. Now we have models which are much more capable. They're called digital twins. So they allow you to do many more things during development, having simulations, running tests on simulations than you could do before. There's the aspect of trustworthy software engineering. How can we make sure that the development process itself is trusted, and that, especially if you look at open source, that there's no backdoors implemented in the code or other nasty things. And then obviously there's a relatively huge field emerging in the software engineering research domain on machine learning and AI for supporting software engineering tasks. So our group just has completed a literature survey, and there are over 1,000 publications in the last 10 years trying to automate development activities like fault detection, testing, fault prediction using machine learning. If you look at the ops phase, there's two interesting lifecycle models, which also imply specific tools and techniques behind them. The one is called AI ops, which aims to automate the operational loop, right? So that continuous integration, deployment, feedback from operations is supported by AI. And the other thing, it's also very important, is ML ops, which is in a sense the opposite. It's actually having a good automation of building ML-based systems. And all this, if you look at the compute continuum, to reflect back on the previous slide, has to consider multi-device deployment from the IoT over the edge to the cloud. And lastly, and this is the adaptation part, we see an emerging need for decentralized adaptation. So the applications play together, share resources, and if you have the infrastructure that autonomously can respond to the needs of the applications, maybe also the applications can modify themselves in response to the need of the infrastructure, and then they can kind of negotiate on the best resource usage, for example, for sustainability and energy efficiency. Related to that is adaptive trust management. You probably have to fine-tune your trust depending on where along the compute continuum your software will run. If it's running in your private cloud, it may be different than if it's running somewhere in an edge device where even the physical access cannot be controlled. And the last thing is then, of course, bring in AI for this adaptation capabilities, what we call cognitive adaptability. So this was really just picking and choosing some of the highlights, I think, which show where the research is evolving towards, where there's interesting opportunities. We have many more topics in NESI that we address. Here's a little bit the web of these topics. So if you're interested in discussing with us, you're invited to join as member. That's for free. So you're included in the mailing list. You get some updates in a, let's say, monthly basis. And if you're even more ambitious, you can also apply for partner and then really help shape these research directions, white papers. Drop me an email if you're interested. And with that, thank you very much for your interest. Looking forward to the questions.
Thank you very much, Andreas. And with this, we conclude the various presentations on the research outlook from different organizations. Are there questions from the public? Again, I haven't seen new ones personally. There is an interesting announcement that there will be a webinar by the Commission on lump sum on the 9th of February, and you can find the link was posted in the Q&A. So I think I can then proceed back with the next section of the program, which is a pitch session. So we issued an invitation to who wanted to pitch their organization or their project idea in relation with the calls, and we have two responses. Here they are. You can see first we have Alberto Marti from Open Nebula, and they will concentrate on the RIA call on the cognitive computing continuum, and the second one, also on the same call, is from Sara Meleki-Alcinkaya from Oredata. I would then hand over to my colleague Valentin to then proceed with the two presentations, and I would ask Alberto to take the, let's say, audio-visual floor and start the presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Giovanni. I hope it's working fine. I think you're muted, Giovanni, but I can see you mouth moving.
I was saying that I hear you well, and I was saying that the slides are not yet full screen. Control L on.
I can share my screen as well if you want.
Okay.
Please do so.
Okay.
Good. Okay, here they are. You can see them, right?
Yeah, I can see them.
Great. Okay, well, thank you very much, both to the Commission and to everyone involved in organizing this this session. I think everyone will agree that they are really helpful, both for people preparing proposals and for people like in our case also involved in ongoing projects. So, well, very quickly, just to give you, in this case, a very brief presentation about Open Nebula Systems, what we do and how we can contribute to your projects, and also an invitation from, as you'll see in a second, from some other colleagues as well. Well, we are a European open source company. The company was born in Madrid a few years after the first release of the software of Open Nebula, the cloud computing platform. We've been heavily involved in a number of research projects, European research projects, and we're proud to say that the product as it stands nowadays, it's in part a result of this successful innovation and obviously the successful exploitation of all that innovation that has been incorporated into our open source technology. Well, we have the headquarters in Madrid and a number of offices in other countries, and we are part of a number of initiatives, both at European level and internationally. Most importantly, we as you've probably seen a few minutes ago, we chair the Cloud Edge working group of the European Alliance, and we're also involved heavily in the IPSAI CIS. So as a technology, what we provide, and this is an invitation for all of you thinking about proposing a project for this topic, please use our technology. As simple as that. So it's open source, it's European open source technology. It's out there for you to use it, adapt it to your needs, include some integrations with other technologies, build that breakthrough innovation that Maria has been mentioning before, that can be actually based on existing technologies. I mean, it's not about reinventing the wheel in this calls, but building real innovation. Also, why not using and leveraging technologies, open source technologies that are already available, in this case, in Europe. In our case, what we provide is an abstraction layer on top of the infrastructure. So both private and public across the continuum, and also the capacity to manage and deploy different kinds of workloads in all different parts of this continuum. But of course, there's much room for improvement and integrations and adaptations to specific scenarios and use cases. So as I was saying, an invitation for you to have a look at the technology as it stands nowadays and how you could maybe integrate that into your project. In terms of experience, well, we've been, as I mentioned before, involved in a number of projects. Right now, I'm personally the coordinator of one of the last year cognitive cloud projects, the Sovereign Edge Cognit, or the Cognit project as we call it. We're also involved in other programs, and we've been also, as I mentioned, quite active in the IPSAI CIS and also the European Cloud Alliance. Beyond Open Nebula, I would also like to extend an invitation on behalf of some other colleagues and companies from the European open source ecosystem. And in 2021, we created a kind of an informal community of European open source technology providers. That's one of the things we, as Open Nebula, think there's a lot of room for improvement, just to come together as open source technology providers and offer our technologies and contribute to European research and innovation, and also to ask all of you out there also to help us improve our technologies together. So right now, one of the things we could also help you with is to get in touch and get the connections you need for some of these technology providers to maybe eventually become part of your consortiums, or help you beyond that with their open source technology, the European open source technology that's already available in the market. And in most cases, like in our case, it's already enterprise level technology, but very open to improvements and to adaptations and to integrations with other stuff. and also as enabling technologies for this breakthrough innovation that these calls are expecting. So that's all. I promise to keep it brief. Thank you very much. And if we can help in any way with the research and innovation action, but also we're also quite interested in the CSA for March. So feel free to contact us, and happy to help. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alberto. And we can then move on to the next presentation. Sara, are you sharing your own slides, or you prefer that we share the screen?
If it's okay, can you share it?
Yes, I will. So I have your presentation in full screen, and should be this. You just tell me when you want to flip like the others. Can you see it?
Yeah, thank you.
Very good.
Good afternoon, everyone. Actually, for earlier presentation, thank you for your presentation. You have really useful information. That was really beneficial for us. So I am here today to introduce my company, Oredata, a cloud services and consultancy company. We are delivering end-to-end solutions to drive digital transformation, and proud partner of the International Telecommunication Union, which is known as a ATU. So can you go to next slide, please? With a large and experienced team of more than 90 cloud and data engineers and more than 30 data scientists and a track record of successful R&D projects, we have successfully implemented projects in the US, EU, and META regions. Can you go to next page, please? Next slide. Our experience spans across various industries such as financial services, retail, e-commerce, manufacturing, oil, gas, gaming, telecom, and government. For the next slide, as you can see, our goal is to empower the digital transformation journey by providing end-to-end services for data collections, processing, and visualizations. Our team of experts has extensive experience and track record of success, actually. Our expertise in AI and ML is demonstrated through various use cases. On the next slide, you can see our use cases, which we demonstrated very successfully completed with detailed information you can see on the page. So that's the quiet and brief presentation about our company. Let Oredata help you unlock new opportunities through innovative and cutting-edge technologies on Horizon Europe projects. Thank you for your time and consultation. We are looking forward to be a partner on the consortium. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Sara. And so this concludes the short but stimulating session on the pitches. And so if we go again to the agenda, I think we are just reached the wrap up. Valentin, are there some questions that we have left behind that we can pick up?
No other questions.
Yeah, I remember one that I missed that was about HPC. Someone asked when we discuss computing continuum, should we also include the HPC, high performance computing, let's say European infrastructure in the picture? And I think that the question seemed to imply, yes, we should, but maybe if we have someone, do we still have our colleagues from the European Commission like Rolf or Maria or Jan?
I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you...
Well, I mean, for sure, HPC is part of the computing continuum. But in this call, we're concentrating on the cloud edge IoT part. Okay, I mean, I would say that the proposals that their main focus is on HPC is not really, part of this call. It should cover the continuum, but I mean, the focus would be on cloud edge IoT. Okay, computing.
Yeah, fair enough. So from
it's not an HPC call.
Yeah, fair enough. From the call point of view, it is cloud edge IoT, but in the
HPC is part of the computing continuum. Yeah,
clear.
We don't deny that.
Very good. Thanks a lot for the clarification, Maria. Then I think we really covered all the questions that were posed. So there is a request for a pitch. Okay, I mean, why not? I mean, do we have time, Valentin?
Yes, we have.
Yeah, okay. So, Özlem, I would say there are two conditions. One is that your pitch is relevant to the calls, and the second one is that you can share your own slides, because of course this we don't have. But maybe you cannot share the screen as, so I don't know. How can we do this? Because if they haven't registered before, can you promote them?
Yes, just 1 second,
okay,
please.
Yeah, okay. Have you seen, right? The
yes.
request is in the chat, so you have them. Yeah. So we are working on this. Give us a second and maybe we can do it.
Okay.
So I'll stop share the screen from my side so that if it works, then we can accept the screen share and have the pitch.
Can
Yes.
Oh, can you hear me well?
Yes.
Yes, now we can. Yeah.
Thank you very much for accepting the pitch presentation. Now I am going to share my screen. Okay. I'm sorry for not being able to, but is the screen visible now?
No, you don't appear to be sharing. So
Sorry, please. Okay.
Oh, now it's coming.
Okay.
Yes, now we see your full desktop, but if you go full screen with the presentation, it should be all right. And flip the screen.
Okay?
Yeah, flip the screens, because now we see your notes, you know, with the.
Okay.
In PowerPoint, you should have the the flip
okay.
screen
Let
kind
me
of thing.
please share the screen. I don't see my full screen here. Okay.
It's coming again.
Is it okay now?
Well, it says that you start the. Oh, now we see. Now it's perfect. Now it's full screen. You can go.
Okay. The idea is related to Data01, and it is currently named as Utopia, Universal Platform for Optimal Intelligence and Global Operations. That's a very difficult problem to solve. And in order for us to cope with it, the problem is limited to the energy domain. My name is Özlem Albayrak from Teknopar, Turkey, and I'm very happy to be able to present this idea to you. Energy is a crucial source and output, and floating wind turbines are one of the important sources of energy. Overseas wind turbines, on the other hand, some still have some negative impacts, which can be considered as waste of energy production. The negative impacts may be on birds, fish, fishermen, sailors, and more can be found in different articles and studies available. Existing state-of-the-art is studying these negative impacts. As Teknopar, we want to be working for a project similar to Utopia together, because
our aim is to apply existing knowledge and potential effort to minimize waste developed by overseas wind turbines and take step for real utopia. Previous presentations and research organizations who are willing, technology providers, energy generators, may work to manipulate some difficult parameters such as air parameters, air condition parameters, or ocean parameters, and not just only to control or manipulate the wind turbine parameters. And that is possible with smart digital twins that are working together to make smart decisions, not only for the wind turbines, but also for other factors in the environment to minimize the waste. Teknopar is a SME from Turkey, obviously cannot do it. However, together, this is going to be our, this is our first research innovative action project proposal. And in this project, we would love to work with utilizing our existing platform. Some of them are low-level TRLs. We developed, we study for, so now I would love to talk about what we do and introduce Teknopar. Bringing mechanics, hydraulics, automation, electric, electronics, and information technologies together. We develop end-to-end solutions for industrial facilities, energy sector applications, on-vehicle applications, and in defense. And in our efforts have been awarded by several organizations, and we are top 8 IoT company in Turkey, top 16 in the sectoral software company, 37 in hardware, 87 in software category, selected as top 10 most innovative companies in Europe and most promising big data solutions provider in Europe by CIO Review and Digital First. Our industrial applications are mainly in the heavy industry. We develop non-destructive test systems utilizing different type of technologies, including X-ray, ultrasonic, and hydrostatic disciplines. We develop control systems also in the energy sector. Our hydroelectric systems are also used more than 125 times on hydroelectric power applications in Turkey and all around Turkey. In the past 26 years, we have completed more than 500 projects in 27 countries shown in red. And in the five years, our R&D projects are conducted with 90 project partners and 19 countries. I wish believing that this fight against wind turbines is a problem which is continuously need to be solved, and believing that edges and clouds and other networks can be together utilized with software and other technologies required. You would like to be a part of this problem, and we would be more than happy if you please consider Teknopar as one of your partners in solving a question as proposed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Even if your presentation was not specifically for the calls, maybe you could be seen as a good use case for some partners. So I would suggest that you put your contact information also in the chat now. So if someone is interested, they can contact you directly. So this, because yeah. just because we don't have your slides.
Oh, okay. I'm going to upload this.
No, because
slides also.
you didn't say which call specifically. That's what I'm saying. Data 010 what, right? Because but it's okay because this
I
is
can
about.
provide further information.
No.
Yes.
It's no problem. I just wanted to say that since we didn't know about this presentation, then it's good for you and for any interested partner that saw your presentation that you put the contact information in the chat. That's all I wanted to say, because I assume that you probably wanted to focus on the RIA call, so the one on cognitive computing continuum that is a research project call and has use cases, then when the wind turbines could be one of those. Very good. If you can stop sharing your screen, then I can pick it up again. Thank you very much. And then I think we are really approaching the end of the event. Sorry, now I can't find my own slides with all the ones that I showed. Where it is, this is it. Okay, good. So thanks again to everyone for the participation. And I don't know if there is some, again, a residual question or intervention that we missed. But I think that otherwise we can really complete this event. I don't know if there is any last word also from our commission colleagues. Otherwise, Maria, if you have something. Very good.
Not just on behalf of my colleagues, I would like to thank you all for participating in this Info Day. I would like to thank Giovanni and our support actions for organizing this webinar. And I wish you all the best in your proposals. If you still have some questions, you know where to find us. Just remember, for the 3 topics, our presentations on what we want, okay, and what we do not want, okay. So now you know exactly how you can go ahead and form your proposals. And I wish you all the success.
Thanks a lot, Maria, to you, to all the colleagues from the Commission and the speakers that we have had. And I would like to mention that we are collecting the slides, and the recording of this session, as we announced before, will be made available in the portals of the 2 CSAs that hosted the event, NGIoT.eu and eucloud-edge-IoT.eu, as we showed previously. So thanks everyone again, and I wish you a great continuation of the day, good evening, and most importantly, as Maria said, a successful meeting and organization of the proposals that you want to submit for this course. Thanks to everyone.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.